Welcome to the show. My name is Diz, aka David Zammit. Either way, whatever you like. Let's get on with the show with news, views, reviews, and interviews. Not much news is happening really in Star Wars. There was an expected a big Disney trailer drop in this last 24 hours. It has happened. The possibility of one of the Disney movies or whatever they want to promote was going to be Mandalorian and Grogu, but no, nothing has come out as yet. The actual trailer was for Avatar Fire and Ash, I think it is, which is the third installment coming out in this December. And it was actually an advertisement for Way of Water, getting people back into the cinemas, getting caught up with the Avatar franchise. That was the trailer for advertising that film, and then obviously working them into going to see Fire and Ash. I think that's what it's called, coming out in December. But that's unfortunately was going to be Star Wars news if it was Mandalorian and Grogu, but no, nothing has risen. Really, that's pretty much it with this Star Wars news. Views this time around, which I will sort of express, having a little bit of space today to create an idea. Now, it's really important to know, views is my story ideas. But it's really important to know that Star Wars is a story that, has been told from, the far reaches of Lucasfilm into the nowadays of Lucasfilm. Whoever really runs and owns it is really the story maker. I accept the story for what it is. Obviously there's things I would change, rearrange, whatever, but I enjoy Star Wars. And the view this time around is Darth Plagueis. My view on Darth Plagueis. Darth Plagueis is actually the master of Darth Sidious, who actually became the Emperor of the universe, which is Emperor Palpatine. Lots of confusion in what I just said there, but pretty much the Emperor, in the original trilogy, his master, his Sith Lord master, his name was Darth Plagueis. He was mentioned in a couple of the TV shows, but most famously in Revenge of the Sith, where Palpatine was speaking with Anakin Skywalker, the characters, that is, just to bring it back to reality of fantasy, about Darth Plagueis the Wise, as he would say in Revenge of the Sith. So I think personally, I would love to see a Darth Plagueis movie. This is something that goes backwards, which I can't stand, but I think it would be great. It's just a really interesting story. I think it would actually, if done very dark, if done really beautifully in its look and its storytelling, I think it would just really ignite the so-called fan base that is missing from the fan base. That's what I think would happen. Not just that, it's a really good dark story. It's Darth Plagueis, the way he, came out of nowhere, and the Sith had been the Sith, which technically in Star Wars before Revenge of the Sith was silenced for a millennium, I think it was, they quoted, and which is a long time. So Darth Plagueis secretly got things together and unfortunately paid the price, which is a bit of a spoiler, but I won't tell you how and why, whatever. But Darth Plagueis, the movie, is sort of not my story idea, but a story idea that I would like to see happen on the big screen. It would not just be a good story, but it would really bring Star Wars fans together. That's what I think. That's my view for this time around. Just quick, basic, straight to the point. Anyway, let's get into reviews. Speaking of Darth Plagueis, one of my absolute prize possessions, which has a little bit of dust on it, but I actually found one time a Darth Plagueis figure. It was in a shop in Melbourne, actually non-existent now in its location, maybe online only, I'm unsure, but it was a place called Minotaur. This place is an icon of pop culture of many decades. It was there for so long, it was just massive, sort of in an underground location, but it just had anything and everything you would love to see. But this here, I found this character there. Now, Darth Plagueis, even though he's canon, this is obviously not an original packaging of a particular Star Wars movie. It's just a figure. But Darth Plagueis, when I got this, when I saw this, I said, I've got to have this. This is just great to have, just for future reference. I have shown this on the show before, many episodes before, but I thought I'd bring it up because of the news that I spoke about this morning and what's coming up also. But this here, I give this particular character and figure, I give this about an 8.9 out of 10. Like, it's not my favourite character in Star Wars or favourite sort of dark side person. The packaging is good, but, it's pretty straightforward. It's just great to have as reference and just to have, being a Star Wars hardcore fan as I am, in my own way. That's an 8.9 out of 10 for my own figure that I've got. That is a prized possession, in my opinion, that I've got. Beautiful. So that's the review. Let's get into interviews. Interviews this time, our favourite guy, Michael from Werribee South. I won't get right into the whole story about Werribee South, but it's in Melbourne, it's in Victoria, which is in Australia. Look it up. Michael, this time around, has sent me 4 questions. So the first question is Chancellor Valorium Darth Plagueis? Is Chancellor Valorium Darth Plagueis? Well, I can tell you, as a spoiler, he is not. Darth Plagueis he was actually alive at that time when Chancellor Valorium was the Chancellor, but he was soon coming to his death, or his departure, Chancellor Valorium, from being a Chancellor, as Palpatine took over. Because when Palpatine took over, in roughly that time period, is when Plagueis passed away, or died, or whatever you want to say. So, yeah, so to answer the question, is Chancellor Valorium Darth Plagueis? No. Second, or next question, I should say, because it's never a second question, it's always a next question with Michael from Werribee South. Anyway, so why was Valorium removed from office? Well, he was removed from office because the votes for the next Chancellor really did go towards Palpatine, who was manipulating everyone to get into that position and really succeeded secretly to get into that position, but really was voted out because of a no confidence from the galaxy. So the galaxy, head, Chancellor Valorium, was voted out by the Galaxy Senate, as they would call it, so Palpatine sort of came in, which was a very secret, manipulative move by Palpatine, but he got in there and was pretty much the Chancellor for a very long time. But yeah, he was removed because he was voted out by the Galaxy Senate. Anyway, so the next question, why did Palpatine replace Valorium? Which that was pretty much answered my last question. Palpatine won the support from the Galactic Senate and was voted in. Strangely enough, Jar Jar Binks, who is a character, one of the most hated characters, unfortunately, in Star Wars, not of my opinion, but of a lot of people's opinion, was a part of the manipulation Palpatine used to be become the Chancellor, but he was voted in by the Galactic Senate in a normal way, and it was just done so well in a manipulative way. Anyway, so the next question is, did Anakin Skywalker, which is put as Skywalker as two separate words, Skywalker, it's actually one. Skywalker is the surname. Did Anakin Skywalker have the hardest life in Star Wars? That's debatable. That's more of opinion. He definitely had a hard life. Growing up as a boy as a slave, becoming very frustrated with becoming a Jedi, and then decided to turn to the dark side. As personally, I think, for himself, he had a pretty hard life. But I think there's many type of characters, many people, aliens and droids and people would have had hard lives in the galaxy. No one was greater or worse, but Anakin, you could sort of highlight because we really got to know Anakin the most, but there would have been many slaves there were, before the Empire and during the Empire, stormtroopers' lives. These people gave themselves devoted to the Empire thinking it was a succession plan, but no. They were just people inside a capsule that looked like a robot, which is a stormtrooper, and just had their hardest lives. No one really had the hardest life. Definitely Anakin was a part of his, self-worth in a bad way. He was his own worst enemy. But, I wouldn't, it's a really matter of opinion to answer that question. I'd say he was a part of having the hardest life, but a lot of it was from his own decision making because of lust and power. And when I say lust, I don't mean sexual. I mean, just an excitement for being so powerful and, yes, stuff like that. Anyway, so really that is the interview section for this time around, and that is the show. But I must say, I'd say the next show is going to be a special show that's not really about Star Wars, but from a Star Wars point of view, just me, just a Star Wars kid, not officially the Star Wars, but a Star Wars kid, will be giving a review of an Australian film that is coming out in a couple of weeks that I got to see the other night as a advanced screening with the actual director being there, and I did speak to the director in a Q&A in front of everyone at the end of this particular film, and I'll be giving you a review of that, I'd say in the next episode of The Force Always, if not the one after, but I'd say the next. Just hold on to your hats. It's Kangaroo, and it's the movie, Kangaroo the movie. I'll be giving you a review, more like reaction to this particular film. Anyway, until next time, my friends, keep rocking.